Okay, I'm not mad at it. Okay, I'm not mad at it. So I just got back in the house and there is just enough light to make this intro. The sun is starting to set a little later, which is cute. Last Friday, I got the chance to speak on a panel, which was really, really cute. It was really cool. It was for a class of students from my school. I graduated from Parsons, the School of Design, in 2018. And a few years ago, actually, a few years back, I want to say like 2 years ago, one of the professors from the program I graduated from, which was called Integrated Design, he reached out to me and he was like, hey, you were requested by some students to speak on this panel about life after graduation and like your career path and your journey throughout your time spent at Parsons. And he was like, would you be interested in doing it? And I was like, yeah, of course. So it was the first time I had done something like that. I was a little nervous. I prepared. I prepared a whole slide presentation or whatever, and it was real intimate, like way more intimate than I expected. I had went to some talks myself, like throughout my time at school, and I remember them being like a whole production. This one was way more intimate, but I was okay with that because it was my first one anyways. But yeah, it was a really, really fun experience, and he swung the block. Yeah, like came back around last week, at the beginning of last week, and asked me if I would be interested in doing it again. He was like, hey, Rom, seeing you've been doing well for yourself, like, would you be interested in doing it again? The course was called Navigating the Field, and it was a Zoom panel this time around with me and two other alumni. And so he reached out via email and was like, would you be interested? I said, oh, yes, of course. And I was really excited. This opportunity came at a really timely time. It was very timely. I'm like at the brink of starting a new journey. Like I'm building up my brand, quote unquote, and venturing off into wearable pieces and like simultaneously still doing what I was doing already, which was freelance work and working on my art and making all that work, like making paintings and making my own work. I I initially was gonna record it, but my recording I realized after we finished only got the audio file. Luckily, the professor who invited me, he recorded through Zoom. So I just was like, hey, would you mind sharing this with me? And so I was like, why not make it into a vlog or some type of shareable content? My brother actually gave me the idea. He was like, you should use that to make a vlog or you should use that to make a video. And so I was like, yeah, you're right. Without further ado, I guess this is the video from last week. It's I didn't get a chance to look at it just yet myself. I didn't look at my own self on the video. Maybe I will. I have to because I'm gonna edit this. But yeah, I I felt like I did really well. I was pretty fluid with my words, which I wasn't anticipating not being. But I didn't make a slide or anything this time around. I didn't plan it out. I just kind of freestyled it. And the other two people on the panel, the other two alumni on the panel, they were from the BBA major and they came way prepared, which was cool to see because, like, different minds work different ways, different people prepare for things differently. I just kind of spoke from the heart, and yeah, I feel like I gave some good insight that I myself can take as well. So I was like, why not share this? I think it'd be cool to share, and it fits within this plan I have for myself. Yeah, here it is. I'm gonna just throw the clips in.
Lastly, we have RAHM Bowen. He graduated in 2017 from the Integrated Design program. So he's an image maker. He is a painter and an illustrator. And he's been on a panel before, just like Maggie and Alex. This year, he was recognized by Forbes 30 Under 30 Art and Design, Art and Style 2022. So congratulations, Ram. That's amazing. So they are going to talk a little bit about themselves, and then we're going to open up for questions. All right, Ram, do you want to jump in?
Hi, yeah. And thank you, Andrew, for introducing me as an image maker. That was like really fitting. I know I'll put that in my bio. But I feel like it definitely helps me to like encompass everything that I've done since Parsons. So I started Parsons in 2013. I went through the integrated design program, and I'm gonna start off by saying I didn't prepare a slide, and I'm kind of wishing I have, but now that I think about it, it's very much a testament to this journey because it's been like a freestyle for me. So yeah, I started Parsons in 2013. I submitted a photo portfolio, surprisingly. Um, and I thought I was gonna go straight through photo. Like that was my goal, to do high fashion portraiture and photography. I was like really into photoshopping, and I like really sharpened all these skills in high school for like portraiture, like, you know, learning all that. And so once I got there, I fell in love with painting. I never painted. I did a lot of drawing in high school, and I painted for the first time my last year, and I fell in love with painting. I got into oil painting by chance, just by taking a class. And I remember my first year asking a lot of friends who were upperclassmen. Like I made friends who were like in their junior and senior year, and they were telling me about the integrated design program and how it offers like so much leeway. Like you can kind of like get your hands into a lot of stuff. And so I was interested in that because naturally I'm someone who is just very curious. Like I am passionate about a lot of things, and I like to explore a lot. And that's like really helped me along my creative career as well, just like doing a lot of exploration. So I went into integrated design, fell in love with painting, but I didn't do any painting coursework. Like all of my integrated design work was like a lot of like, not necessarily strategizing for design, but like the program says, like integrating your either products or services into like your art, like finding a pathway for that. And so something that really helped and that was really pivotal along this course outside of the coursework was starting a collective with my friends. Like we all were artists from different backgrounds, and we decided to go ahead and like start putting together art shows and curating things like within our community of people, like not necessarily always in school, but like we took a lot of time to like do on our own, like finding brand partnerships. Like this was very much before the freelance and influencer reign. So we were like kind of trying to figure out how to do that and integrate our own collective. So that led to me getting really interested in curating. I was like behind the scenes of doing that more so. Like I wasn't really always presenting my painting work. So it got me familiar with like a lot of other painters who were like in the New York City area, and like, you know, building a community with them. Along that way, also while in Parsons, I got into modeling. And that's why I love the term image maker, because I just wasn't on one linear path. Like I touched into modeling, I touched into a little bit of acting. I like was doing everything New York had to offer and everything Parsons had to offer. So when I got into my final years, I was like, I really had no idea what I wanted to do, honestly. Like I started being more active on my social media. I like built a presence on there. And so I was doing freelance work, but it was like still the beginning of freelance work. So there was not a lot of pay, but I really enjoyed like just showing my process, showing my work. And that helped me to like really receive like, not that I was looking for validation, but it helped me to understand what was attracting my audience. And that really helped me go on to do more work with clients, because now what I'm really focusing on is just pitching ideas. Like that's kind of what I've done since then. I can't say I've been really invested in one particular like agency or corporation, but I have like, so basically most of the time, like I'll pitch an idea. For example, I've done a project with Dr. Martens where they reached out to me, they presented me with a pitch idea, and I kind of like went on and then showed them some examples of what I like remixed with the pitch idea that they brought to me. So a lot of times that's how my work works. And with like my background, I just kind of like am choosing what to integrate, like what works. And so in between all of this too, I want to say I've took many breaks, like a lot of necessary breaks. I've had to go home and take a year off. Like I took a year in between school, like between my junior year and last year. And that really, really, really helped me because like I'm doing so much all the time. Like I'm so interested in so many things and my mind is always on like so many different forms of medias. So like having a break in between that really helped me to like find my direction more, like really hone in and understand why am I making these images? What is attracting me to this medium? Like what what can I offer to myself and what am I offering to a client when they come to me? And yeah, I want to say like the path is not linear at all. Like what you're doing now definitely helps set a foundation. And I would say like, you know, having being money oriented is like the end goal, but in between making like it really hinders you because you really just want to find like what works. Like you want to make your style, like stamp your voice in your work, like make your style, like have direction for your stuff. So like even when you come to clients or like you want to pitch yourself, you're not swayed by somebody else's idea or like what somebody else has to offer, if that makes sense. And that's it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for rounding out the intros. I don't think you need a slideshow. You have these beautiful paintings and images in the background, so it's just, you know, it's the best background, virtual background.
Appreciate
um,
it.
sure thing. So all right. So I don't actually see any questions in the chat, but I'm sure many of you are getting inspired, getting nervous, getting all kinds of things. And I just appreciate how much truth you three were speaking from your own experience. And I taught this course a number, 4 times now. And there were so many twists and turns in everybody's journey from my experience seeing that during these semesters. And I know there's also a lot of personal growth. And one question, I'll just kick it off. One question I have for you three has to do with like, if you could jump into the time machine and go back to that senior year, you know, starting in the fall semester, or maybe even the spring semester, is there something that you know, of course, as you pointed out, Ram, it's not linear. A lot of things could change. But is there something that you think you would have liked to take advantage of, or that you wish you would have, a course you would have taken, or an experience you think you should have spent more time sort of preparing for? Is there an experience or an internship or anything that you feel like if I had that, it may have sort of clarified things a little bit later as I jump into the real world, as not the real world, but as I start sort of applying for jobs or looking for the next step for me. Ram, do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, so I would say for me, I honestly did not do many internships throughout my time at Parsons. Like I want to say I did two. And I was like between my third year and my final year, I was like so honed in on the work that I really was a little more closed in. And I wish I would have opened up a little bit more. Like I know thesis and doing all that work can be so like demanding, but I wish I would have opened up to New York just a little bit more, like sharpened a little fewer like a little more connections, because like I was doing more personal passion projects, but I kind of wanted a little more connection so that when I left, like things were a little bit more seamless. But otherwise I would say things worked out the way they should have, but just that one thing, like I was like wanting to do more like gallery stuff. That's what it really was. I wanted to like kind of infiltrate the gallery realm, and I really didn't like step into it fully then. So
Yeah, that would be important for your specific, where you are now, for sure.
I'm looking at a question from Christy here, and I think it pops up quite a lot. And this is for Maggie and Ram as well. Are there any specific skill sets, you guys, that you wished you'd have developed while you were still at school? Sort of narrowing down specific production skill sets or research skill sets? I don't know. Ram, you mentioned oil painting, I think at some point as sort of picking up a new skill. Any thoughts on other skill sets sort of you would have retroactively wanted to develop while still at Parsons?
yes, I really wish I would have gotten into like the CAD, like computer animated design, and like rendering, and a little bit more into animation. Because like although I was like strengthening my style for still image, now I have this desire to like bring it to life in a new dimension. And yeah, I was like, I honestly still consider going back to school for that. I seen that like message pop a little bit up in the chat or whatever, but I was like, I'm still considering like possibly learning that, like going to school to explore that, because I know I can possibly take the time to learn it on my own, but just like the structure of school is kind of like helpful in a sense where you have to be on like a schedule. So definitely
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm seeing a question come up also in a couple of different formats, and I think Alex, you alluded a little bit to the fact that we sort of follow a non-linear journey, and there seems to be a couple of questions about, how to pivot. How did you sort of realize that it was the time to make those career changes? How hard it was, especially given the fact that this generation has so many cities, so many opportunities post-college that are open to them from different cities to different industries. How do you sort of navigate where to go with all of these opportunities and when to do these sort of career shifts? Ron, what about sort of on your end? How did you feel about navigating and making those pivots? Or what was sort of the flag that said, now's the time to sort of shift from this to that, or develop sort of these, different work paths?
Yeah, like Alex said, the passion, I would say passion, what you're passionate about. Like I've spent a lot of time like writing lists of my passions, like the direction that I want to go in. And also I would say, like, as Parsons students, like I know a lot of you all have so many different talents and interests and passions, but I would say really trying to discern like, what do you want to keep as a hobby and what do you want to like monetize and commodify? Because all the time they don't have to like merge. And like learning what for me was like, what do I want to keep for myself? Like what don't I want to have to like do so much that I'm like throwing up and hating doing it, versus like what I don't mind waking up and like, going to a 9 to 5 to do, or like taking the time out of my day to do for a full day. So like that really, really, really helped me discern, like, because in between that, like in between just doing like for a while, art was slow for me. Like I was like on the path just to do like freelance work and like selling commissions and like doing client work. And so I just took up modeling more seriously because I was like, okay, I enjoy doing this. It's helping me like look at camera angles from a different like perspective. Like I'm on set kind of building a repertoire of like how to set up a set, like, cause that's something I'm interested in too. So I would say like doing something in between that, can help you pay your bills, that doesn't feel too demanding and doesn't like make you feel like you're losing your shit or you're hating your love for what you love to do.
I love that. I love this sort of distinction, especially with creatives, like to be kind of very conscious of what you choose to monetize on. I love that. How do you make yourself and your major stand out and attractive when applying for your first job, knowing that you're coming from a major that's largely hazy or not defined, and you're still a fresh graduate? What's sort of that thing that you think can give you an it factor when interviewing? We'll sort of give you all guys a chance to take a first jab at this, whoever has an idea percolating in their minds. Maggie, Alex, Ram. How do you make yourself stand out? Ram, thoughts on making yourself, your major stand out?
I don't really have an original idea between what Maggie and Alex said. I would say, yeah, confidence in your strengths for sure, knowing what you have to offer. And if you have a lot to offer, you know, making sure is in like emphasize that you're flexible and that you do all the things you do well. And I want to say, yeah, like everyone else is saying, like your own personal origin story in this day is definitely what is helping, because it gives insight on your personality too. So yeah, nothing original, but just the same.
Definitely. Definitely. Let's see. I have two questions about community that I'm sort of going to mishmash together and sort of open them up for either you, Maggie, or Alex, whoever has any thoughts percolating on this. So it's this concern about community and how do you sort of balance not putting pressure on yourself at the same time, relying on your community and even relying on it to some extent, in the sense of working with friends or building teams. What are some challenges for those of you who have worked with friends? What are some surprises that you've experienced in the process? How does this look like socially? Does it change your relationships? So really capitalizing on your Parsons community in the workplace. What are some of your thoughts on that, you guys?
Say no a lot if you feel like it. You need to. You don't have to
That's
say
solid
yes to
advice.
everything.
Yeah,
Even if
definitely.
it's your friend, it's your best friend. If the idea does not fit into your realm of things, don't do it because you're gonna resent it if you don't want to do it. And be genuine with your connections. When you're networking, I would say, like, not that you have to put people on a pedestal, but if you're looking to seek a connection with someone as far as networking, like be genuine so you know, so they know what you're like looking for, and it's like a mutual understanding. So like there's no weird blurred lines down the line. Yeah, and I would say, like, also if you're looking for community too, you should have a mutual exchange. Like it shouldn't just be like going to community to like reel in and benefit from what is there or like what has been a foundation. Like you should definitely be looking to offer something as well. Like,
I love that.